A busy day, I'm sure.
It's 1 o'clock, so we'll call the Facilities Committee meeting for Wednesday, March 17th to order. Let me lead us in a word of prayer, please. Our dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, and we thank you for the opportunity we have to serve the citizens of Glynn County. God, we just ask that you give us guidance, let us have understanding of what our community needs, and to be good stewards of the funds that are entrusted to us. Guide us as we talk about the system today and help us to understand what our staff tells us and help us just to move forward with the system. Thank you for the opportunity we have. We bring all the glory to you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
There's no public comment period. Move to the approval section. Item 1 is the minutes from the February 17th, 2021 Facilities Committee meeting. Do I have
Chairman, I move to accept the minutes for item number 1, this meeting of February 17th, 2021.
I'll second the motion.
motion second? All in favor? Motion carries 3-0. Next item is the minutes from the February 17th, 2021 Special Call Facilities Committee meeting.
And I also will move to approve the minutes as submitted for the special call meeting for February 17th, 2021.
And I will second that motion.
Motion second, all in favor? Motion carries 3-0. We'll move to item 3, easements and infrastructure dedications. Mr. Klein?
Sir. All right, Commissioners, this is a pretty standard easement infrastructure dedication item here. It's 2 items, both on St. Simon's Island. Item 1 is on Longview, which is a private right-of-way. Locations Kings Marsh condo or townhomes, I think it is, behind the post office on St. Simon's Island there. So it's a private right-of-way. We have a customer that came in, purchased a meter, and there is no water or sewer extensions on Longview. And so what we did is we reached out to all the people on their side of the road, 3 different entities, and we obtained easements from those 3 entities to be able to extend water and sewer to their neighbor. So everybody worked together on the road there, and turned out favorably for us. And so we're presenting that easement for acceptance to the board today. We'll immediately gain 1 new water customer.
So the other 2 are already on the water system?
The one that's closest to the public right-of-way on Longview, where it transitions from public right-of-way to the private access easement, actually is what it is. They are currently on our water. They can reach it. Our water extends right to there, to the transition.
Are they on the water, though?
They are, and then on water only, correct. And so our hopes are to also get these people that are on septic right now. The neighbor at the end of the street desires to get onto our sewer system, and so this will open up availability for them. So we have to stand a chance of picking up 6, 7, 8, plus the people at the end, possibly 9 different new customers.
Are we putting the water line in?
Yes, sir.
What's the cost of putting the water line in?
In-house, I think our cost is pretty cheap for 2-inch pipe. It's the water. It's going to be a 2-inch water extension. So total cost, we can.
How many feet is it?
Up real quick, but $20 a foot probably for the install cost on the pipe. But
And we're doing this just to pick up 1 customer, right?
1 immediate customer who has come in and paid, and then we have interest from The other residents, they've expressed interest, especially the ones that have provided easements to us. So for sewer and water. We already have one of them on water. The rest
And
of
how
them-
far are they gonna be from the nearest hydrant?
We're actually going to relocate a hydrant to the end of where the private access easement begins. So they'll be within the 500 feet. We have an 8-inch main that extends right now, right there where it transitions to the private right-of-way. So.
It says the water and sewer systems are expected to be constructed, so are they gonna all three become sewer customers too?
Not immediately, but they will be brought on as they need to be, yes, sir. There's some houses that are, some vacant lots back there that are interested in connecting, and then we've got the septic tanks. It is pretty wet back there too, so, they will, if
What kind of connection would it be, a gravity sewer?
These would be, I don't think we can extend gravity. I don't think we have the depth to extend gravity.
it'll be low pressure.
These would likely be low pressure.
And the existing sewer, or the customer that wants sewer is fine with the low pressure system.
I question why we're extending water to somebody and it's so close to sewer, we're not requiring them to hook to the sewer too, and it's a new house.
Now, the new house will be on both.
Okay, the new one is 510 Longwood. It's the one at the end of the road,
507.
507.
But, yeah, the one at the lot at the very end, they just demoed that house, and they're starting, basically with the foundation. So that will be a new home down there.
Yeah.
Okay, so 507 is going to be a new one. That's down
507 and
left side,
507 and 510 will both be tying on
yeah.
very soon.
Just the new houses will be tied on.
There's some existing houses that do want to get on the water system as well. They're not interested in the sewer system because their tanks are currently working, but when their tank fails, they'll have to get on the sewer system as well.
This will put us within reach, within the 500 foot, so when their septic system does go beyond its useful life, they will be required actually to tie on our system. So it's up to them.
What does our policy say on this? Do we have a policy?
We have, well, if somebody is within 500 feet of water and sewer, public water and sewer mains, they are required to connect to those sewer mains. New construction, we're required to connect. Occasionally, people will ask for variances if they have an existing well and septic tank on the site from a previous structure that is still functional, or if they have a very large lot and the front corner is 500 feet away, but their house is going to be 1,500 foot back in the parcel, we consider those variance requests. The ordinance does give us the authority to require people to tie on by simply sending them a letter and tell them they have 6 months to tie on to the system. But we have hundreds of people that are currently in violation of that, if not thousands, so we have not forced that issue.
Tie on to the water system, you mean?
And sewer. It says on both of them, they would, if they're not currently on and there's a public line there, by ordinance, they're required to tie onto the system. We have not, for new construction, we're enforcing that, but not for existing structures.
Well, this is new construction,
They will be on the system if we run this line.
but there's some houses you said aren't owned that would come eventually.
Would come eventually, yes, sir. The customers are interested in water because they're having some well issues. The sewer, as long as their tank's working, they're not interested in getting on a low-pressure sewer system.
Now, the low-pressure system, do they pay for the pump and everything?
Yes. Yes, sir. We will maintain the public section of the force main, but the grinder systems themselves will be maintained by the homeowners.
Is the force main gonna go all the way to the end of where it ties on to the last house for this particular project?
Not as part of this first initial customer that we're getting on the water system. This is simply just a tie onto the water. So right now, we're just extending in-house the 2-inch water main.
I thought we were tying this person on to sewer also, though.
No, sir, not at this time.
I
Just
thought-
water. It's a water and sewer easement. We were able to obtain that from the property owners, both a water and sewer easement, but at this time, it's only a water extension.
Okay, my apologies on that.
Well, just a follow-up question for clarity. At such time, 507, that's the closest to our gravity system, that they want to connect, will they be connecting via gravity, or would they have a grinder pump?
They would have a grinder pump. Theoretically, there'd be a 2-inch force main that runs parallel to the 2-inch water main that they tie onto.
Okay,
Because if not, they would have an excessively long lateral out in the public right-of-way.
understood. Okay. And then, let's say 509 goes next. Do we run the line down the right-of-way, that low-pressure system along the frontage of 509 at such time that they put in a grinder pump? And I think that's going to be a new house, I presume. Okay.
There's an existing structure down there. It looks like I can't tell if they're renovating or if there's an existing structure down there at 509.
Is this the drawing on the second sheet, Todd, that we're supposed to be looking at that I can't see?
We used a previously created plat as the exhibit for when we were obtaining the easements for folks. So this is the only one that's that's related to Longview as far as the drawing. I've got GIS pulled up, so it'll maybe help us look a little bit. We can get a better view of what this is. Let me turn on the ortho.
This is not Captain's Cove, this is 500 block of Longview.
This is 500 Longview, yes, sir.
And
Right, this is
how
the
long,
first
how long is the easement? We don't even show how long the easement is. We don't mention anything about what we're doing there.
Right, so there's 3 individual easements, and
3 individual easements.
correct, 3 different property owners.
Are we gonna run 3 different lines?
No, sir, one single line. So we had to get, trying to think, maybe it's easier for me to point.
Who owns the street?
Okay, so this is public right-of-way. Post office is down here. Public right-of-way comes in here and stops. From this point on, it's private property all the way to the back, all the others. There's a private access easement. It's not even a private right-of-way. It's a private access easement shared by, equally by both property owners either side.
Going how far? Going how far up there?
So if we're going from 503 all the way to 509 at the end, we're getting easements across everybody's property. Total distance, one little piece across theirs. Yeah, 300, a little less than 400 feet.
Okay, so how does that person get back to the house?
Back to the house up at the top.
Yeah, that's the one we're serving, right?
We're serving 507. 507 is coming and paying
And
for
there's
the
509's above it.
509, yes, sir.
Right.
The 507 can get there on the easement that's been provided, I guess, the access easement?
Correct. So
Is there an access easement to 509 too?
yes, sir. This is actually paved right here. It's a little paved road, and it kind of meanders back and forth amongst the access easement that's shown in GIS.
And where are we gonna put the fire hydrant?
Fire hydrant, we're gonna set the fire hydrant right here at the end of the public right of way. Right now, it's at the other end of the street.
And how far is it to 509 from that hydrant?
About 300 feet, 3,400 feet.
Right, from the corner of their property. Yeah, from where we're going to locate it. Yeah,
What's the street parallel in that?
I think that's Riverview
Riverview.
North.
What size line is that?
looks like Riverview's, it's either
2
a
inch.
6 or an 8, let's see.
2-inch sewer
It's
looks
got a
like.
hydrant on it, so it's probably it's like a 6-inch, yeah, 6-inch transite on Riverview. Let me clean this up a little bit. There we go.
Is Riverview on sewer?
They are, well, they have a force main. They're on primarily grinders on Riverview.
We just replaced most of the water mains in Riverview with the galvanized project.
Okay.
There's no gravity sewer on Riverview, so unfortunately.
I'm concerned about just a 2-inch extension on a private street.
About 2-inch extension
On
on
a
private street.
yeah. That. The other two, the two houses in front, they're on our system.
So, right now, 503
Yeah.
is on,
So we got a 2-inch line to that point?
correct. And actually,
Where's that 2-inch line?
that's this 2-inch
So
line right here.
we're gonna connect to that.
And extend it, correct. Yes, sir. This kind of cleans up a little bit of stuff too, because
When was that 2-inch line put in?
That's great, yeah, that's what I was about to say. I don't know when this was installed, but it was installed without an easement at some point. It was probably when this, I'm not sure if when this person wanted
Do we
one.
have a meter on that second house up there?
There's a meter on 503. I think that's the only meter we got.
But it's at their lot, it's not back where we're connected to 2-inch.
Correct, it's at their lot.
Service connections and turn that guy on.
But we don't even have an easement for where that water line is right now.
No.
We currently do not until the board accepts it, actually. So that'll give us an easement over this piece of little finger property. And actually, this finger property is owned by 509. So it's the same owner there. 503, it's kind of an L-shaped piece of property right here. 503 gave us that 25, and what we did, we squared it off with the existing 25 feet this way.
Is 509 a developer that's building those houses?
No, sir, they're not.
Does he own those lots? Did he own those lots?
Which lots?
507 and 505?
Separate property owners.
Separate property owners. Separate
All
property
of them are
owners.
separate property owners?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
509 is just like an older place. It's a block building
Mhm.
of some sort. And owner of 509, I'm familiar with it because I know someone else that owns property there across the street. But 509, they've done a lot of clearing and cleanup of brush. It looks like they're getting ready to do something, maybe convert that old building to a garage or something and build a primary residence. And then 508, I think, is a little brick house right across from 509, and 510 are now the same owner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The end of the street there, yeah. You can tell they're doing a little bit of work
Yeah.
down there.
So that's what I know about the property in the area. So
You from there too, I'll tell you.
So ultimately, that 2-inch line will serve 08 and 10, because that same owner, it'll be two separate parcels,
Mhm.
two separate residences. And then whenever 09 builds a primary residence again, and 07 is a little single-story, low-pitch roof, looks like a cottage that they've been working on for a while, and it's actually quite attractive in my view.
And they have paid for their
And they're the ones, the
Yes.
newest customer.
Their
Okay.
well is having issues, and they're ready to, they have come in, paid for a meter, and they're ready to connect.
Okay.
So if it's a new structure, then they have to connect to both the water and the sewer,
unless they are given a variance, yes.
unless we give them a variance, right? And anyone that's remodeling can stay where they are, or they have the option.
If they're pulling a permit, they're
And it-
required to tie on.
That triggers the necessity for that. Okay.
The 6-inch line we're tying to is a dead-end line too, right? It's not looped around or nothing.
Correct, so this is it's an 8-inch down here. This is the two, here, I can pull it back up. We have an 8-inch that comes in dead end right here,
And how far down does it go?
all the way back down to Kings Branch.
Do we know what kind of fire flow we're gonna get at that hydrant?
Red top, less than 1,000. So, lost myself here. This hydrant, we're gonna relocate to here. So it's kind of splits the difference, and then give these people fire protection now. Distribution, that's what they asked they could do, is relocate that hydrant, so it made sense.
Did we model it to see what the flow is gonna be and what that hydrant would put out?
We have not.
We have the capability to do that, don't we?
Certainly.
I mean, I just don't, I'm concerned about putting in a 2-inch line that long, just serving, it's gonna be how long, is the total length?
400 feet, yeah.
400 feet.
You think it's not adequate for the services?
Well, it's for the service, it's fine, but for fire protection, I'm not sure that.
I see what you're saying.
Hydrant's gonna be
Yes,
adequate
you
without
certainly
looping it
want to
around.
pull the fire flow off of it, but they'd be within the 500 feet mark. If we move this hydrant here to here, into the right of way, into the public right of way, the folks at the end will be within 500 feet.
Yeah,
of
And then,
hydrant.
when you're extending the hydrant from where it is now, it's gonna be on on a 6-inch or an 8-inch?
8-inch.
8-inch line, okay.
but did I hear that some of that line was already replaced? It was galvanized, it was replaced?
No, in Riverview.
And the next street over it was
Yeah,
the
so-
galvan, yeah.
Neighborhood north.
All that 2-inch in Riverview was just replaced. We just put brand new poly tubing in there as part of the galvanized project.
Is all of that section galvanized line?
The mains in Riverview are transite, but the services and the 2-inch, I get 2-inch mains that run back on the streets were all galvanized.
Did we replace all of them?
We haven't replaced the transite, but we've replaced all the galvanized.
Just 2-inch?
It was 2-inch, yes, sir. And we put 2-inch back.
All right.
And we have reports that water pressure has drastically increased in the area.
Well, I'm sure from galvanized, that's for sure. And how long has the galvanized been in there for?
Beyond its useful life.
Thank you, that's a good description.
So, the second easements, or second part of this agenda item is within Captain's Cove, a subdivision put in between North and South Harrington. Actually, access is off of North Harrington. That is the location. And these are just easements, it's 2 easements to be dedicated to us for ownership and maintenance of the collection system within there.
They're donating the infrastructure as well, correct? Or just
And
infrastructure?
infrastructure, yes, thank you.
And this is all on a pressure sewer system too, right?
Correct, correct.
And that's the only way they can be served? Is it already installed? Is this installed?
It is installed, yes.
Okay. Anybody want to make a motion?
I will. For item 3, I'll make the motion that we accept the easements and the infrastructure dedications as listed as 500 block of Longview, including the 3 easements, and also for Captain's Cove, easement and infrastructure.
We're going to forward it to the full commission for approval
Yes. Thank you.
and acceptance. I'll second the motion.
Motion second, all in favor? Motion carries. Next item is the 2021 capital project plan draft. Mr. Burris?
Yes, sir. So, a little bit of flexibility today with this.
Okay.
Hold up here. All right, there we go.
Are we supposed to be looking at the new one or the old one?
We're going to go over both of them, give you a lot of options today. I have a third option that's not printed on here either, so. All right, well, what was sent out to y'all last week, this is the draft capital projects plan for the 2021 year, starting with the fiscal year. The reason it's a draft is because we typically approve this concurrent with the annual budget. And since we do not have an approved budget for next year yet, these have not been approved. So, we talked about most of these at the retreat that we had back in January. These projects are in a variety of areas. The budget, which will be presented at the Finance Committee meeting, currently has about $7 million in the R&R fund for next year. So down there at your bottom right, you'll see the R&R funded projects for next year would be just shy of $7 million. Those projects would be to convert the Canal Road water production facility, the fire well, to a water production facility. That is right there by the intersection of Glencoe and Canal and Harry Driggers. We have been in communications with Glynn County for their proposed intersection project there, and this is being taken into account with their design. We would convert that from a fire well to a production well, exactly like we did with Ridgewood. That is an Upper Floridan well. And we also have a great deal of demand currently ongoing. Do you need this email? Do you need email open anymore?
Was that?
Do you need your email open anymore?
No, no. You switch users.
Okay, good. So, we have a lot of demand at Canal Crossing at this point. In fact, when we made the connection at Canal Crossing, we started getting a lot of water pushing back across the interstate. The Ridgewood well has helped with that, and got those Miocene wells at Golden Isles 1 and 2 have cut back drastically, but doing this will help that out even further. So it's a $1.85 million project. It would require outside engineering. If you recall, the price tag on Ridgewood was just shy of 1.5. So the other $350,000 would be for engineering services for the project. The engineer who designed the Ridgewood well is no longer doing design engineering, so we'll have to go out for someone else. So it won't be as quick of a process. However, we believe that could be a very successful project for us. North Mainland water loops. If you're familiar with the exit 38 area, you'll notice every time we have a major water break at exit 38, we cut the entire exit off of water because it's not looped very well. It is single fed all the way from Old Jessup to the spur and up almost to Perry Lane Road. So if we have to shut a valve down, pretty much everything between the spur and Old Jessup gets shut down. The easiest way to loop that would be to come down Hautala, but that is a bit of a spaghetti junction with utilities out there right now, and you could theoretically jack and bore the railroad, but that's about a 600-foot bore. Jack and bore costs right there, so that's about $350,000 to bore that. So the options we're looking at here, Kate Road to Old Jessup, and I will, since you did me a favor and pulled up GIS here.
So where is it? Tell us where that line's going to be.
That's where I'm moving.
You can bookmark it. I think
We don't have it in our stuff, do we?
No, sir. I did not produce maps for all these because I was planning just to pull up GIS.
Can you provide a map that goes in the packet tomorrow? This is going to be in the packet tomorrow, right?
No, sir. This is just for discussion today.
Okay.
It would theoretically be in your packet for approval at the April meeting. All right. Where am I at? Oh, okay. So we're up here. So what currently happens, let's zoom in here on our exit. One of the sections we're looking at for looping this, as you can see, we have a line that comes across the interstate up here to our right and comes down through Millennium Park right there at the I-95 Toyota, but it is not looped to the other side of the spur. So one of the loops we'd be looking at doing would be getting GDOT permitting to bore under the spur and loop those in there. Because if you look down here, what currently happens, you see this long blue line that keeps following here, and then it dead ends right there at the railroad. So if we have to shut it, if there's a valve break anywhere back here, the closest place we can shut that off is back here. So we shut off everybody in between there that feeds off of that line. So Ridgewood has helped that somewhat, but we still have problems. The other area we're looking at is back behind the Tractor Supply, which I will get there shortly. Where am I at? Road names, that's 99, went too far. Some road names here, that's Ridgewood, Perry Lane. Okay, yes. So essentially, we would also bring a line down this, this is on New Jessup is a 16-inch line.
That's the one that comes in Old Jessup.
Old Jessup's a 16, 12-inch on Perry Lane. So we would be bringing a 12-inch line down Bailey and along Old Jessup to loop the system on that end as well. So it's looped on both sides. So for if there's a break in the middle, we can feed from either direction.
So you have to shut the valve off, the water's gonna go around.
It can go in different directions, that's
Okay,
correct.
yeah.
So those are the two we are looking at doing with this money, just to give you an idea. But that will give a great deal of water redundancy for the exit 38 area.
Is there any concern about right-of-way space on that section of Old Jessup where we would loop, as we referred to it, behind the tractor supply area?
It crosses a significant ditch over there. There's a bridge, yeah, so there's some constraint, some design, there'll be some boring likely with that project to get it.
Okay. And then the other thing is, do we know of anything that's in the county's forecast 3 to 5 years out that they would be doing some right-of-way improvements?
I'm not aware, we did just receive a list from Dave Austin from Glynn County. I'm not aware of this. Matter of fact, I think they had done some work on this section a few years back even, so I don't.
Okay. I support the approach. I think it's a good approach. I'm just thinking about Old Jessup. It's kind of a narrow right-of-way,
Very narrow.
and so just take that into account.
Yes, sir.
How did we come up with the 1.25 million?
That was all estimated off of projects we've had recently bid, based off the amount of footage we got to put in the ground and the bore under the spur, and then also likely the bore under the creek, or ditch, whichever is the more appropriate term there.
Historic Omaha,
And what size lines are these?
Be a 12-inch,
All of it's 12?
as far as I know, yes, sir. Is it a 12 for Millennium or 8 for Millennium?
I think it's 8 over there.
8 in Millennium and a 12 down Old Jessup.
How did we size that?
It's really to connect existing.
The existing pipe sizes, tying them together.
The existing that we're connecting to kind of dictates the size. So 8 on either side, we're going to connect it with 8s. With the, now on the Old Jessup, the 16.
It's a 16 down, yeah.
Then it's a short run of 12.
Right.
Won't make much of a difference or an impact to go from 16 for that little connection there, 12 to the 16. And branch out to 340.
Our existing GFA loan debt service at full draw is $1.21 million between the $7.5 million loan currently for the meters and the $15 million loan for the Academy Creek Rehab and Cured in Place project. So we said when we got that loan, we would pay for it out of R&R, so there's the allotment for that. Pump station 4002, I'll draw your attention to 4002 and down further 4001. Those are the oldest pump stations in the city of Brunswick. Built very,
Let's go back to the meters. Is that for all of the meters?
that's for half.
Half
That's
of
for the
it.
$7.5 million, which will do the first 2 years of the meters,
Okay, so it's for all of the 15 million?
and then the 7.5.
Okay.
So 4001, 4002 were both listed in the master plan as needing entire electrical system replacements. That was discussed at the last facilities committee meeting. We also have needs at 4002 to increase the flow capacity there based off of some development that's coming in that area. However, so while we're in there, there's some pumps that were relocated to that station a couple of years ago, but that station basically needs a complete overhaul. And then 4001, the same thing. 4001 is a much smaller station than 4002. So there's your 650 for 4002 and 400,000 for 4001. 4002 is the one down there by Indigo off of Union. Is that where Indigo is? That parking lot right there. And then 4001 is down closer to King and Prince. 4001 pumps to 4002 as well. 4044 rehab.
4002 was already rehabbed, wasn't it, a few years ago?
We replaced the pumps in there. We relocated pumps from a different station into there, but that's the extent of the rehab work that's been done.
So are we gonna rehab like we're doing on 4003 and?
It won't be as extensive because we won't need wet well work, or we're not gonna add an odor control unit, but very similar, yes, sir.
Basically mechanical and electrical upgrades.
Mechanical and electrical upgrades at both of those stations. Now, 4044, you may recall a little bit about this. We had an unsolicited proposal with somebody that was gonna do some development at the mall area. That has since ceased, and that station is in dire need of attention. We would be building a brand-new station adjacent to the existing station, then using the existing wet well as a receiving manhole. We have been in contact with the bank right there by that. That's on Altama in front of the old Payless Shoes location. The bank that's immediately beside them, we have been in communication with them. They have an existing grinder set up that we would be putting in the station, then they could gravity too, so they're willing to give us the property to do that if they don't have to be on a grinder system anymore. And then this actually, 4044 drains everything up from Home Depot down through Pepper Tree Crossing on the other side, the mall area, so there's a lot of water that goes through that station. So this would be to completely redo that station, and also would cancel the unsolicited proposal that doesn't appear to be making any progress.
You're going to use the existing station as a receiving?
The existing wet well, yes, sir.
Okay, so
We'll
that'll be-
take all the electrical out, all the valves out, but the existing wet well will be a receiving manhole. Priority basin cleaning CCTV, these would be projects based off of the master plan for the basins that they say had the most I&I in them. We'll get back to that one in a second. Highway 17 North Pump Station, that is the construction of a new pump station between Golden Shores Mobile Home Park and Cabana Court Mobile Home Park to utilize the new force main that we just put in the ground there. That would allow Cabana Court to tie onto that pump station, and the hope would be to also allow customers across 17, when the widening project occurs, they're going to install casings to come into that station. So we did get approval from DOT that they will install casings while they're in there doing that widening for us.
Okay.
400,000 this year is what we're estimating the 4116 project, which is essentially a whole new station, so that's where that number came in. 3101 is on the south end. It takes the flow. 3101 comes from Clearwater and all that. Is that correct, Todd?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, so all that-
Clearwater's to the south, 3114. 3101 comes from the RV park.
RV park and all
everything
that.
north,
Yeah.
truck stop, all that stuff comes through 3101.
So it was also listed in the master plan for complete electrical improvements, but if we're going to go there and redo the electrical, we're going to take care of everything else while we're in there too. Look at the pumps, bases, rails, everything of that nature, get that taken care of.
Is that where most of the II's coming in on that system? Since it's coming from the truck stop?
It's likely coming from that area, from the truck stop and the port that comes through there, yes, sir. We don't have definitive answers on that yet. The run times don't seem to indicate where it's coming in at necessarily. Village Drive water main extension, that would be to run a new water main along Village Drive. It's about 2,500 feet from Lawrence Road to the end of Village Drive. We have got multiple phone calls asking for water service back there for vacant lots. So if we ran this line back there, we would be able to serve the overwhelming majority of the Village Drive area with water service as those new constructions come online.
How many existing houses are back there?
How many?
Uh-huh.
30?
It's kind of spotty, because there's a lot of unopened right-of-way back there, especially to the south, Village Drive, I guess. Yeah, 30 maybe, something, 25, 30 houses.
And what size line would that be?
It would be an 8-inch underneath Lawrence until the front of it, and then we'll have to consider how much further. Likely be an 8-inch the whole way just to provide fire protection to the area. We haven't sized it exactly yet, but the cost difference between 8 and a 6-inch is pretty negligible.
If only one or two houses town, that's gonna be
Right.
pretty stale water.
Right, but you can see theoretically these buildings that are in there and the number of vacant lots that are along Village Drive on these side streets. And we would be going from Lawrence back here to Wade and Virginia, the intersection there with this line. So you could feed both directions off of that main as people came onto the system.
Our gravity, we have gravity or force main sewer on Lawrence near that intersection.
That's force main. And then there is low-pressure force main in Village Drive as well.
Okay.
There is a low-pressure force main going all the way down.
Not all the way down. It stops here at, I don't know the name of that
What
street,
size is that?
2-inch. A single homeowner put that in to run grinder systems to their house.
And it crosses Lawrence Road?
It does. It goes underneath Lawrence Road and ties in.
Is that where the pump station is over there?
Yes, sir.
If you put a bore in underneath Lawrence Road with gravity, that'd be the way to extend gravity, but right now it's all running there.
So this would just be to add water service. It would not be running sewer service as well.
Understood. My thoughts are is if we're going to cross with a water line, why wouldn't we just go ahead and put it in a sleeve?
We could do
Give us
that.
the flexibility later, because we're in the neighborhood now.
Right.
How deep is that wet well?
Very shallow. It's maybe 7-8 foot deep at 2056. It is very shallow. Those pumps were in the process of replacing the panels to put VFDs in to keep them from short cycling with the shallowness of that wet well.
Is that the pump station that Sinclair Plantation was gonna?
That's the one they would have been improving, yes, sir.
Is that project dead? Sinclair Plant? is that-
We have heard nothing on that, so no progress on that.
And then the last project on the list would be to continue to fund the galvanized project as we're going through. We've got about a mile of galvanized replaced thus far with that money. So fixing to do some more galvanized work, so that'll be hopefully funded continually until we get through all this galvanized stuff in our system. Now, I said the priority basin cleaning CCTV, we come back to that. That money was being allocated in there because we had 1.75 million worth of CIPP on the SPOS list. Since that was unsuccessful yesterday, that project doesn't necessarily have to be expedited for the SPOS list. We can televise those basins ourselves, so I have produced a new list. You'll see a couple of fairly significant changes here. The main one here, not the main one, but Dunbar Creek Engineering would be replacing that cleaning CCTV project. Dunbar Creek is in need of some rehab to the filters, to the UV system, the aeration basin, the energy at the blowers, potential odor control improvements there, potential addition of a new clarifier. So that would be to do the engineering at Dunbar Creek. For a reference point, the engineering on Academy Creek was right at $1 million. So that kind of gives you a scale of what the overall project cost. We're estimating 3.25 for the project cost.
How long duration would the engineering contract be? Is that a 9 or 10 months?
I'm estimating 9 months. I don't know, Commissioner Trampsey, what your thoughts are on that, but I'd say 9 months.
So if we let this one in the second half of the calendar year, then we're looking at basically summer of '22
For potential
to have the
construction.
results available. And then we'd look for funding to
Right.
begin the capital rehab there.
That's correct. And then the other two, as you see at the top, on the SPOS list, we had the ARCO Community Road Water and Sewer Extensions. You see in the funding column, there's both capital and SIF. If you remember from our finance reports, there is a capital reserve fund that's separate from the capital improvement fee reserve fund that we fund at $300,000 a year. There's currently, by the end of this fiscal year, there will be $3.4 million in that fund. So 4 months into next year, if the budget is approved, we'll be at $3.5 million. So we could go ahead and get that project started if we wanted to pay for the ARCO project out of that. That project is under design and is expected to be completed in April, so we could advertise that project in May.
If we borrowed money to do that, how would we address the debt service?
Well, okay, so that was option 3. One of the things we have been discussing is potentially borrowing the $15 million that was on the SPOS list.
Right.
it should be slightly less because interest rates are a little better right now. The $15 million loan for Academy Creek was about a $700,000 debt service a year, $720,000 a year debt service. So using that figure, my suggestion is if we want to do that, that is perfectly reasonable, that we would do one of two things. We could discuss increasing the usage-only rates, not the base rates, to cover the new debt service.
Right.
Or we could increase the actual debt service rates, which is determined by your REU allotment. So there's roughly 45,000 REUs in our system, just to give you round numbers. So if it is 700,000, that would go up, everybody's bill would go up about $1.30 per
Month.
month to fund that, if we did it with the debt service. If you did it with usage, it'd shift a lot because the higher users naturally would pick up a
Sure.
chunk of that.
Okay. Well, I think what we need to do is look at a few scenarios there and determine what's best for us, and then also an exit plan 2 years out. For example, we pay off that debt. If there's a new SPLOST or another funding source available 2 years out,
Right.
actually it'd be about almost 30 months by collection. So I think that's reasonable that we look at that. It gives us the flexibility to keep on track our major capital projects that are going to benefit the community.
Yes, sir. And if we took that approach, the original capital plan that was sent out last week, we could still do those projects plus the SPLOST projects with the loan approach. So that clean and CCTV project would still be a good fit at that point, because then we could go clean and CCTV all those lines and then use the loan money to actually fix the pipes.
Agree.
So I also threw some timelines together for you just to give you an idea. Some of these are a little longer projects. I was a little conservative with this. I will give you fair warning on that. But so the capital projects plan for Canal Road, you're looking at, if we started, Monday the 19th is the Monday following the April budget meeting. So that's where that date came from. So to go out for RFP, review the numbers, and come back to a commission meeting for approval for an engineer, you're looking at August getting that back, just because of the way the calendar falls. I assume 6 months engineering on that project, and also a 300 days, because that's what the last contract was for construction. So that would be finished up April of '23 if that schedule is correct. So, it's one of those, when you look at it, that's not going to be a short project. 4044, you're looking, if you started that one in April for engineering procurement, looking at September of next year before that's finalized. The water loops, a little bit shorter, August of next year. 4001, 4002, my recommendation would be to put those together into one contract because they're very near each other. And they do pump to each other, so rather than having separate engineering firms work on that, that would be a little bit longer construction with both pump stations being rehabbed there. So January of '23. 3101, we would start 3101 maybe a little later to give us some time to space out some of our workload a little bit. So that it's a shorter duration project, but because we'd be starting it this fall. Clean and CCTV, we got specs prepared. We can put out a cleaning and CCTV contract very quickly. It's just literally getting maps made up, adjusting the specs just a little bit for the existing project. We could have that advertised very quickly, within 30 days.
And let me ask you this. I think I saw somewhere, I don't recall, that we were forecasting about 78,000 linear feet for
Yes, sir.
cleaning and CCT. What's our capability in-house on an annual basis?
We do about 100 to 150,000 feet in-house a year.
Wow, okay. And this other 78,000 would be
On top of that.
on top of that?
That's correct. The thought process when this project was put together, they will get 78,000 feet much quicker than we can get 78,000 feet done.
Understood.
So when that was on the SPLOST list for the CIPP, was to get these basins televised as quickly as possible so that we could turn the SPLOST money over.
Understood. Okay, thank you.
And then if we started in-house engineering on the Highway 17 North Pump Station, I allowed Todd 120 days to get that one done.
The only work on that front.
Only work on that project. And then,
That's 120 working days.
Yes, okay.
that's not correct. Weekends are included. So that would be in April of next year, finishing up. Galvanized is just construction in-house, so that would be through the next fiscal year. And then Village Drive, the first one, again, that would be an in-house design, pretty straightforward to get that one done. And then we'd be finishing that up next spring as well. So that's if the first plan were to come to fruition. The second plan, I'll just talk about the projects here that got added. Dunbar Creek. Depends on how we want to do this. I said 7 months as an estimate to get that done. May take 9 months, depends on, honestly, how much is included in that. And then ARCO and Community, again, that'll be ready to bid in May. So we may stagger the bids a little bit so they're not both taking bids at the same time, but we'll stagger them a little bit. But those are going to be, ARCO's probably a year-long project, and wouldn't you say, Todd, to get all that installed and all the paving work and everything redone back in there. And Community Road, I assumed 9 months to get that one done. That's about 2/3 the size of ARCO.
Yeah, it'd be easier.
Yeah, my thoughts are is we may want to flip those in terms of timing.
Okay.
Simply because the scale of ARCO is significantly bigger
Yes.
with all the paving involved.
Right.
And frankly, the subscription rate may be a lower
Sure.
in terms of folks wanting to connect sooner compared to the community road area. I think both of them are viable projects and both of them are worth doing, but I would suggest we just flip those in timing.
So certainly that could be done. You know, the start date on all these, depending on priorities, are flexible.
Another thought, we've got a lot of engineering going out the door
Yes, sir.
for requiring outside resources. I think it would be beneficial for us to look at doing some of it internally and staffing accordingly.
Okay.
I think we need to have more of a mix of what we outsource compared to what we insource. And right now, we do a lot of work outside.
Yes, sir.
And I think my thoughts are is we could probably be more responsive to projects of small to medium scale, for example. Not get into the complexity of the treatment plants per se, but I just think it's going to give you more flexibility to be responsive and control the cost and the quality.
Yes, sir.
That's just my view, is to look at it. The other thought is, what we're not seeing here is a lot of the stuff that's in our update of the master plan. We've got a lot of these blue lines, which are construction, that are stacking on top of this. So my other concern is our bandwidth total, because we're the construction management organization, if you will.
Yes,
Your
sir.
team is. Certainly, some of that is outsourced and we do some inspections. So I just offer caution on to that, is to be sure that we have the right staffing looking at the right things.
Now, those pump station projects that were listed, those are all based off the risk scores in the master plan, except for 4044, because there's a need to do that just because of development going on in the area. But the other pump stations are the highest priority lift stations listed in the master plan. So
Mhm.
that's where the vast majority of that list actually came from.
Yeah, I have no concern about what you've outlined here. I think it's commendable that you've really taken a very broad brush look and given us some granularity to it. Let's look at everything as it stacks up. Our current list of
Right.
some few dozen projects that are going to continue to completion, along with this list and our master plan
That's one thing.
projects.
If you look at that plan, it doesn't show a lot of construction kicking off immediately because we would be doing a lot of outside engineering.
Right.
That was to allow us to complete some of these ongoing construction projects before we had more necessarily coming online. So, obviously, Academy Creek and the North Mainland Phase 3 SPOS, they'll be with us into the first quarter of next year.
Next item is water pollution control plant flows report. Mr. Burrows.
Yes, sir. We did have a rainier month in the month of February. I talked last month about how we were doing better on the groundwater infiltration because it had been dry. We still seem to have a little bit of an issue with wet weather inflow at this point. However, the plant did handle it pretty well. TSS a little higher, but well within permitted limits for the month. Same with BOD. You see the Intercaca again, well within limits again for the third consecutive month. We're looking at 96% removal of BOD, 94% of TSS. You are seeing more sludge going to the landfill at the end there. As we've increased our solids, the biomass in the system, we're creating more sludge, trying to get the treatment better for the ammonia. So that's where a lot of that is coming from. But even with a little heavier rain month, still only at 58% capacity there at Academy Creek.
What's the ammonia in the new permit going to be? Is it one?
One. And if you look at the graph, one thing I will say, you look at February last year versus this year, that gray bar is this year's rainfall, which is drastically more than last year's rainfall in February, but the actual flow was lower. So we have made improvement. It's just we've got a little ways further to go on that.
Good progress.
Yes.
Very good progress.
And Dunbar, flipping over there, again, a little more rain this month, but still below 3 MGD, so 73% effluent capacity there. That plant handled it very, very well. Everything well within permitting range, 98% on the BOD and TSS removal there. And very, very good consistency month to month there on what we're seeing for both sludge and effluent concentrations. So Dunbar being operated very effectively. Again, similar story to the last one. More rain in February, but less overall flow. So from year to year. So that's encouraging to see. In Southport, much of the same from the previous months, within 8,000 gallons a day difference from the flows. Even with the higher rainfall there, and the plant responds very well down there, 93% BOD and 98% TSS. Remember, what that may seem like a lower BOD removal, there's a lot less BOD coming in, so you're limited on what you can actually take out.
Yep.
And then finally did have to send some sludge to the landfill this month after 3 months. So, but 11 dry tons in 3 months isn't too bad coming from a wastewater plant.
Should we consider smoke testing in the Southport system
We
to
could,
locate where this is?
yes, sir, we could do that. We could smoke test Southport in-house.
Because it's real obvious. I mean, look at your BOD.
Yes, sir.
And it's gone up substantially since August of 2020.
Yes, sir.
Capital project report, Mr. Klein, Mr. Burrs.
All right. Thank you, Commissioners. 1 second, I'll pull right up so we can follow right along. Okay. All right, you should have in your packets there the photo report. Let's see, no. Okay, I'll go along through here, touch the high points on these projects. Project 702, which is the North Mainland Pump Station 3536 upgrades. One thing you'll notice here at the top of the line, right after the title of the project, we added a percent completed, roundabout percentage complete, based on a few factors, and then also the projected, at this time, completion date. So it kind of helps you track along there when we think we're going to finish the project up. I thought that might be helpful.
It is.
Pictures of that, just inside again, that's a 35, pump station 35, and then 36 stations are coming along. Looking forward to getting those underway. The notice to proceed date
March 22nd,
coming up very quickly on those.
Monday.
Correct. Next project, in tandem with that one, separate contractor, is the force main extension down Harry Diggers Boulevard. And also looking forward to that one kicking off, or it's already kicked off, but looking forward to them mobilizing as well.
They, notice to proceed on that one's April 1st.
First, in the pre-con, they mentioned urgency in getting these materials ordered. So materials costs are very volatile right now.
And
In one direction, it seems to be to get
And
hands on them is tough. So.
some level of supply chain issues with PVC right now. My understanding is there's 3 resin plants in the United States, and only one of them is actually producing resin right now. So PVC becoming a little more difficult to get, especially when you're trying to get 3 miles of it.
So they did ask us about purchasing and whatnot. So they're doing everything they can to secure everything for us and get it going. Next project, 703, Pump Station 4003 upgrades. Again, that project's around about 60% complete. April of this year, or April 22, it's supposed to be 21. April 21 completion. They're getting pretty tight on their schedule there. A couple things, it's looking at the quality of the work's good. Scrolling through here, you can see their structures on site for the gravity segment's going to begin being installed. We got the right-of-way permit finally in hand. We should
And
start seeing them
They
digging that.
they do have 30-inch gravity on site, though, so we did get that PVC.
Yes. Yeah, so not, what you can't see in this picture, but has since arrived, is the 30-inch PVC for the gravity system, the gravity, couple manholes that are part of this project. And you'll see digging going on. They're already starting to put their well points down to dry it up for the excavation. The picture at the bottom of page 2 there you see is a look through from standing inside the dry pit. That's I took that looking through the dry pit, through the cord hole. You can see the wet well on the outside of the structure, and that is a annular space in between the two. It's now since been backfilled, but that is where one of the suction lines, that's the third hole, the third suction line hole that penetrates and comes into the dry pit where the pumps are situated. So that's looking through there. I'll be talking a little bit more about that here in just about half a second. If you scroll to page number 3 there, this is something you never want to see. In a dry pits are supposed to be dry. You see some water in there. So Mr. Patel made a site visit out there last Monday and noticed a good bit of water standing at the bottom and quickly inquired as to what happened. That is groundwater that's made its way from outside the dry pit station into, and what happened? Well, when they leave for the weekend, they typically turn off their dewatering on the outside for the wet well. They did that just as normal. The suction lines that come from the wet well into the dry pit, there were some fittings that weren't able to be completely tightened, and they were left loose. They figured that the little bit of water that would trickle in through that wouldn't be a problem. The sump system they had set up to accommodate any water that got in the dry pit, they made the assumption that it would have no problems keeping up with it. Well, that sump system inside the dry pit, it was a series of 2 sump pumps, daisy chained up to get it out of the that height out of the ground and up outside the dry pit area or the station. It failed on them, and so what happened is it filled up with water over the weekend, and that's what we had. It did, this picture here at the top of page 3, the water was a good bit higher than that. If you look at the picture down below, you can see the witness mark, the mud line. The darker shade, that's not paint, that's the paint is supposed to be white, but you can see the red stain that shows the depth of the water. So the issue with that, biggest issue with that obviously is the pumps. Those pumps are not meant to be submerged. They're meant to operate in a dry environment. Biggest thing with the pumps is the electrical motor that drives the pumps. The pumps casings in themselves, not so much. They're made to operate by nature with water. The other thing you have to be concerned about with that is the drive line that connects the motor to the pump, and that is an oil-based bearing system. So concerns being wet with that. So, contractor, engineer record, everybody quickly jumped on top of this, figure out what happened, figure out what the solution forward was. Pump vendor got involved, pump manufacturer, everybody on board. Pump manufacturer says, hey, we want to get these pumps back. The contractor, they arrived yesterday. They're now in the hands of Gorman Rupp. Gorman Rupp's going through diagnosing what damage possibly occurred to these things, and they're going to come back with a recommendation, which could be anything up to and including full replacement. So a decision has not been made on that. We're simply reporting the current situation of what's being done to provide information to make a decision. So contractors fully taking responsibility of the incident and addressing it. So we've had a lot of conversation with them here in the last time. Any questions on that? I figure I'd open up to any questions. Okay, moving along. Canal Road to Glencoe 12-inch water main. Of course, construction-wise, nothing accomplished on it yet. As far as construction, hasn't begun yet. That was an in-house design project. Currently, water distribution is gathering. They've already taken an inventory. We've got about 2,500 linear feet of pipe on hand that we're going to use in this project that was left over from the previous project. And we have to order the balance of the pipe, and Mr. Simmons is in the process of doing that.
There's also a section of that pipe that's included with the SPLOST project being paid for out of this budget that will be bringing it down Canal Road.
Correct. That is tying into that project. Magnolia water improvements. So we were told, well, the underground contractor working for the city, this is a combined city and joint water project, city being storm drainage and roadways. The underground contractor had been focused on the storm drainage over about the last month. So we were told they were going to begin back on phase 2 of the water on March 22nd, but they actually started back on the water on Monday. So our phase 2 of water is back under construction. Phase 1, the customers are reaping the benefits of that, and I think we've had really good install as far as the water goes. Joint water's portion of it on phase 1.
And all of the customers in phase 1 have been tied on to the new system. So all of those new services have been tied on, so everyone's using the new system.
Next project is 4021, pump station rehab and upgrade. Last we spoke, the contractor was, there were some pump delays. The pumps were coming over from overseas. An update on the pumps. Now it looks like we're going to get those a little bit sooner than, so around May 1st or first week of May, we're hoping to get those pumps. Contractor's going to mobilize within the next 2 weeks, get bypassing on site, and you can't see it because it's a still shot on the right there at the top of the page, but one of the discharge lines inside the well actually has a good sized hole in it. And so right now operations can't run that effectively because it simply blows water right back into the wet well and you're repumping it. Doesn't work that way or work well that way. So timing is great on this project. Contractor understands that and they're going to get on site as quickly as they can. Take our bypass pump out, get theirs installed, and get it going. Water pollution control. Our large project out there at Academy Creek just had the monthly meeting yesterday.
Monthly meeting was yesterday. They have, on the picture on the left, they've completed the excavation for the sludge offloading facility. You can see them tying steel there. They have now poured a slab in the bottom of that. Apparently it was a little bit of a trick to get the concrete trucks back in that building to actually pour that slab, but they were able to figure that out. Moving over to the next page, you've got the filters. They poured the slab for the base, and they've also started forming walls and poured one of the filter walls. So essentially what they've been doing for the last month is tying steel and pouring concrete. So some large new structures going up out there. The excavation on the influent work was originally scheduled again next week. Found out yesterday they are going to start that April 5th. They had to have their pipe crews come in from out of town, and they got delayed on another project. It is not going to impact project completion because that's being done by a completely separate crew than who's doing the rest of the work. But they are moving right along with that project. Things are going well. We get inspections reports from our engineer of record, and so things seem to be moving along quite well with that project right now.
Said it right, with a lot of steel.
There's a lot of steel down
A
there.
lot of steel. It's pretty impressive. You've, the filter structure in the back right now, what heck, the excavation in the building for the receiving pit's pretty impressive too, so. All right, pump station 4105, basin expansion, force main reroute, CIPP, it's out for bid right now.
Just the CIPP
Yes,
portion.
excuse me, yeah, CIPP portion of it is. This is the, one segment of this gravity sewer rehab, runs underneath the exit 36 overpass, and several other segments in that area in the 36 basin, so some critical gravity sewer rehab going on there with that one. Hopefully we get some good bids in on that when they come in. Next project, 2002 Altamont Avenue CIPP. We're trying to wrap that project up. It's down to the project as far as the segments. There's one segment left to line. It's under discussion whether to continue to pursue that one or not. But here in these couple photos, this is IPR, who's our prime contractor, has Capital City, who is their sub, coming in doing this specialized defect removal, which is punch list. And the defect, when I say that, when you slip these liners and invert them inside, they're loose, resin impregnated felt, essentially. You're doing this all with the hopes that the thing inserts and inflates correctly inside the pipe. Occasionally you have a ripple in the liner, that kind of thing, or a rise or something. The way to address that is you send a robot in, you remove that defect, and then you go back in and you put a short liner to bridge the gap. And that's what they're doing here. It was right here in front of the college, pump station 4006. There was a defect such as that. Capital City, now the interesting part of this work, Capital City mobilized about 2 weeks ago, began the work, got their camera, unfortunately got hung up in the defect about 400 feet into the pipe. So they tried for about a week to get it dislodged, and this whole time that segment of gravity is in bypass. You can see in these pictures looking northward, and that's Altamont to the left. Looking northward, you can see that pipe. That is the bypass pipe that's pumping the wastewater to station 4006. That's a picture of the camera that got stuck there on the front, that red portion. That's the wand, or the actual cutter head. It's a water jet. Hits it out with such high PSI that can actually.
He's got caught on that broken pipe.
Sir?
He got caught on that broken pipe.
No, sir.
That's a piece of what the pipe, that's VCP pipe actually right there, as you can tell, and I think there's a piece of brick off to the side. We're not sure if that came out of the defect or if that came from upstream. Once you line these pipes, they become slick.
We think the camera got caught on the fold in the actual liner.
Yeah, I've got a picture. Matter of fact, since we're talking about it, let me jump down to.
So what's that defect doing in there? What's the pipe doing in that line? That's a line pipe. We've lined it.
It was from upstream. Obviously, when we jetted it previously, pushed it down into one of the segments that wasn't being lined, it settled out there, and then when we got the flow back to it, it pushed it back down. So that was likely from one of the upstream segments that got lined.
So when they cut out a defect, and you say put in another piece of the liner, is that like putting a stent in there?
It is.
Exactly.
Exactly what it is. Yeah.
Okay, and then they used, what do they use, hot water to cure it also, just spraying, surface spray, or?
Since it's a short section, when they mix it on site, it's reacting. It's just
Okay,
like
so they just gotta
5-minute
get it in
epoxy.
place.
And they'll get it in place. They have a little bit of working time, but they get it in place, they inflate the plug, spreads it out, presses it hard against the host liner,
Yep.
and then it
And then it
cures.
cures, okay.
So this is a picture of the camera actually where it's stuck. Unfortunate accident, these things happen. But here's the defect they were cutting out, and it's kind of difficult to see. This is the camera itself, and its wheel actually dropped down in to the defect. And we think probably where the pipe, just what we were repairing right there, the hose pipe was fractured. Wheel dropped down into fracture and got hung up. They have tried everything coming both directions, hooks and all this kind of stuff. And you think, man, just hook it to the bumper of the truck and pull. But that's some expensive equipment down in there. So,
It was 400 feet in, you said?
yes, approximately.
Wow.
So,
Well, it's about 35 feet from the other end.
from the other end, right. They're yeah, they almost
Almost made it, huh?
just can't quite reach it.
Okay.
But unfortunately, when you have to go in one way, and since we're right here, I'll show you. This is what Capital City decided as a solution, using industrial divers. So it's not really a diving situation, it's a supplied air situation more than anything in a confined space, because you can imagine this 24-inch diameter sewer pipe that these brave souls are
Wow, right.
inserting themselves into. So they've gone in there, and the good news is they've already cleared one defect, and they're at the, they made it up to the camera now, so they're working on dislodging the camera now.
How long has it been in there?
Over a week now.
A little over a week, yeah.
They have been working very hard, and it's a full-on diving operation for sure. But
Wow.
you see the hoses off the side, different colored hoses, that's the air supply lines. So you can imagine this is a highly specialized and highly, you got to know what you're doing, to say it lightly. Everything was vetted very carefully, albeit they are Capital City and IPR sub, not our sub. We are not contracted with them. But we ensured that we had sufficient right of entry documentation and hold harmless agreements, and we're also named on their insurance, and our legal folks are very satisfied that this type of
They go
operation is
in,
going
I presume they went in the short end,
Yes.
first. Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
Well, that makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
because the other end is occluded with cable and other stuff.
Exactly.
It's only it's 24 inch.
Which
Yeah.
we've been told is the same size as a standard MRI machine.
I was gonna say, it's like getting an MRI practically, but you get to move in this one.
Yeah.
I don't know, you can't move much in there.
No, just kind of shimming.
Did they ride in on a little trolley type thing to
They got
roll
a
in?
little,
Belly
little
trolley.
creeper, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's, by the time you put a dry suit on, all this other stuff, and the hard hat, boy,
Yeah.
very little room. And those guys are, they're working with their hands in front of them with their
Right.
pneumatic tools and hand tools at times. So, but anyway, sometimes there's not much other way to do it.
Things don't always go as planned,
That's
always.
very true, very true.
Yeah.
It happens, hey, it's how we react to it and how we handle it, learn from it, so.
But you're satisfied with the reaction from the contractor then?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's, they made the call, it was, to do this.
In fact, we slowed down their reaction, making sure we had everything we needed for them to go in that line. They were ready to go in there end of last week, so.
Yeah.
So, that's one thing about this job, you learn something new every single day. So, but you feel bad for these guys, very professional outfit, just stuff happens, so. Sea Palms, so that project is wrapped up except for one punch list item. This same crew had just gone over to Sea Palms to work on those remaining punch list items on the same liner project. You can see from left, that's the post, or pre, excuse me, with the defect. This is one segment where an unknown grinder station was tied in, actually, of course, kicked on when they were trying to do their liner. It would have had to been relieved anyway at some point, but kicked on and bulged the liner, caused a defect. And then you can see to the right, that's the post-defect repair. Much better situation with the final result there. And, to answer your question, here's a good picture of it showing answer your question. That's how they're mixing the short liner on site. So they mix up the resin, saturate it on site, put it on top of their plug, and draw it through the pipe and do their stent. So, interesting process. Coastal Club Apartments 4059 is next project, 2005. So that project was incorporated into a comprehensive agreement. As part of that, 4059 was going to get upgraded by the developer. They were going to handle all the contracting directly with the contractor to do that. And we understand that they are signing the contract with them and looking for a mobilization date from those folks. But that will be wrapped up, we're assuming, by August here. Should be sooner than that. Bergen Woods, off-site force main. We tied that one to the pump station 4116 rehab, which is out for bid right now. We just had our pre-bid meeting yesterday. Handful of contractors.
6 or 7 prime contractors
Yeah,
were in attendance, so.
yeah, seem to be interested in that project, so hopefully we'll get a good bid on there. And of note of this project is that this will serve the safety complex, Glynn County Safety Complex, multiple users in there, GDOT, everybody else. But what is under construction now is Glynn County Animal Control. So they'll be served by this pump station as well.
Theoretically, at the April meeting, there will be a MOU brought forth where we will manage the project and then bill Glynn County for the construction that's ongoing, similar to the way Glynn County does East Beach and Demery and the village project for us last year. This is our specialty, not theirs, so we'll do the pump station work and they'll just pay for it.
Another in-house designed this pump station in-house. Glynn County provided the survey work, so it worked out pretty well. All right. Sea Palms East Waterline Rehab has not kicked off yet. I know distribution is coordinating to do that. He's getting pricing.
On boring underneath Frederica.
Correct. Oak Grove Force Main formerly had 4132 pump station improvements to it, but will likely just manifold. That project, they're still going through their permitting on the actual construction of those residences, but as part of that, they have a comprehensive agreement with Joint Water to run the force main to serve that development on Oak Grove Island. So we've been through several iterations of design review with them. All right, Prince Street elevated storage tank. And after this, we'll talk about Demery. So if you've come over the bridge, you've been downtown off Prince Street, you probably noticed the curtain hanging around Prince Street elevated storage tank. If you wonder what it is behind the magic curtain, that's what they're doing. They're blasting it down to white metal or down to bare metal, prepping the surface for repaint. And they're done with the blasting now, priming almost complete. Inside the tank is blasted and primed, and they're going to wrap this tank up pretty quickly. This one's going to get the logo, the city logo. The city chose the logo that's going to go on there, so it's going to be kind of coming over the bridge. You'll off the distance, hopefully be able to see that pretty well. They've got some tight inspection on there from one of our junior
I see you
inspectors.
expanded the staff there.
That's a special request when I get to pick Mr. Klein up from school. He wants to go around and see what's going on with projects. So.
And no safety issues at the tank at all?
No safety issues. Thank you for your remarks when this project kicked off, and from what you shared with that, from your previous experiences, we hammered that home with these
Right.
folks.
Yeah.
And we have seen no safety issues.
Right.
They have the pretty good practices. They meet before they do anything at the beginning of the day. All appearances, yes, they're operating safely as far as we have seen. So.
Any feedback from the neighbors?
Zero feedback from the neighbors. Zero feedback.
Kind of wondered, because that's on a small lot right next door to a
Yeah, it
couple
is.
houses, so it's,
Yeah.
I think the contractors have done very well with their staging, their lay down,
It must be.
and
They
how
must be.
they've
The
executed.
neighbors aren't complaining.
Yeah, we have some very good neighbors out there, very understanding.
Well, they're probably waiting for the unveiling, so. You'll be happy there.
Let's see, so, in tandem with that project is Demery Street, or, yeah, well, Demery, on St. Simon's elevated storage tank. That one is underway now as well. They mobilized a second crew, same contractor mobilized a second crew over the big deal on that. They've already done the pressure washing on the outside. They're blasting and priming on the inside now. Now, they're not going to hang a curtain on this one. They're going to use a paint system called dry fall, and it's just a type of paint. By the time it sprays and any backsplatter or overspray, anything like that, it dries within seconds. So it just simply falls to the ground. So we're waiting to see how that I don't know if you get drift or you get anything like that. We're going to see. So, but anyway, it's an industry standard type paint. So if they were to blast this one, they definitely would have hung a curtain. But it's a good thing with this because there are antenna, everything like that. We do lease this out for antenna space. So with no curtain, works out well. So that one is underway as well. Force main replacement for 2002, engineering's just about done.
No, I'm expecting to get the 90% into this week, first of next week. And so we have located the exact connection point. So we will have to open cut Demery to make the tie-in, so that'll be night work. But moving along pretty good there. Going to be a slow, it's 1,300 foot of pipe. That sounds like it should go pretty quickly, but they're going to have to open cut the whole way through, and it is very tight along Arnold Road. So it's going to take a little longer than what it may seem it should take to put 1,300 foot of pipe in the ground, but
Presumably, they're going to plate it most of the way.
either that or dig a short section and cover every single night,
Okay, backfill it.
backfill it every night. We looked at boring it, but there's so much in the ground right there, we figured we'd rip more stuff out of the ground trying to bore it than we would do trying to open cut it.
All right, moving along, ARCO, we talked about it before. So designs, got to check. I haven't seen the submittals yet. We're supposed to get them.
Friday.
Yep. And gonna stay
One
on
thing,
top of our.
excuse me,
Yes.
Tyler, if we can back up just a minute
Yeah.
about the Arnold Road, is when we actually are on Arnold Road, you may want to have some discussion with them about their stop work at the end of the day and how they leave the site, particularly as you approach the 5 o'clock hour,
Right.
because that's kind of like Restaurant Row,
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
right around in that area. It gets really congested there. So just thinking of safety of the workers, equipment,
Well-
parking and that sort of thing.
Another thing we've got to consider there is depending on when we accept bids on this project, obviously, we're going to have to not work during the major holiday weekends and
Yep.
things of that nature to avoid causing significant disruption. So it may be a little bit of a start-stop project.
Right.
Okay, after ARCO, Community Road, sewer expansion. So, we did get back, I believe we got back since the project was, or since this update was written, 90%, with under review on that, so a lot of interest in this area, obviously commercial. And then, we're looking at the funding for construction. Galvanized replacement system-wide, self-performed. You can see some of the, we always try to get some shots of the good stuff coming out of the ground. Some iron pipe there to the right, or to the left, and you can see the big pile of iron coming out.
What's the largest size of galvanized pipe we've replaced?
2 inches, the biggest we've replaced thus far of galvanized.
And are we replacing some of the service line to the meter also?
We are replacing all the service lines to the meter that are tied to the galvanized.
They're putting all 1 inch, aren't they?
All 1-inch services, off of the, even if it's a 3/4 inch meter, we're putting 1-inch services and reducing it.
Okay.
Standardizing. All right.
And are we talking to the property owner about their own line too?
We do, we tell them that when they tie on, when we tie that system on, they may develop leaks on their side if they're having galvanized, or if they don't see increased water pressure. It likely is a defect on their side. We always flush the meter out to make sure it's clean at the meter. We have, in a couple of scenarios, customers have noticed leaks showing up almost immediately after we tie it on,
It's because of higher pressure.
just because the pressure was so much
Are
higher.
we telling them this?
Knocking on doors.
There's always somebody there?
Not always somebody there, but, usually, there's enough people in the neighborhood that the word gets around to the people that weren't there while we were there.
Should we be leaving a leaflet or something?
We can. It wouldn't be too hard to get printed up.
That way,
Yeah.
We did have one that had their irrigation system tied on. They had to adjust their sprinkler system because they were watering the road after we got through there.
A little more pressure, I'm sure.
We're selling them more water. It's just another picture there to the,
Looks like we've got some inspector trainees there.
yes, inspector trainees.
I
Yeah.
see that.
Hey, working here's a family affair, man.
Yes.
Little local assistance, huh?
After hour stuff, you have to bring the family along. Moving along to 118, 119, that was an in-house project done by Systems Pumping and Maintenance.
119 is complete, and 118 is 95% complete. Got a little site work to do, dressing it up a little bit, and have an issue with one of the pumps from the manufacturer. Manufacturer's been down looking at it, trying to determine steps forward with that, but doing a lot better. We added deragger functions to these with VFDs. So previously we were pulling these pumps 2 to 3 times a week, and the ones at 4119 haven't been pulled in over 3 weeks. So reduction in staff requirements there.
That's it.
now, we're gonna put green barrier on those fences around there or something, or what are we gonna do? How do we, because now I'm seeing, we see some pump station, like on 17, we got the wood fence.
I think on 118, we're not gonna do anything because it's back in the woods.
119 currently doesn't have anything on there, but we could add the green screen fencing if you prefer.
I mean, I just wonder what we're doing. Do we have a standard now? What is?
It's more about location. If it's in a neighborhood, usually we try to tuck it away a little bit. If it's on the side of a major highway, maybe not always. On 44-8 on 17, I'm not real sure why a wooden fence was chosen there, but
Yeah, it was a preference. It was operations preference. They felt it was easy to repair and stain and keep looking good.
I'm not sure it's been stained. It's not looking very good now. And on these, I'm concerned about these as far as being target practice if they're in remote areas.
Target practice in remote
Yeah.
areas, that is true. Yeah, our generator out back's got a nice hole in it when it was at the end of
Yeah.
the spur.
So, I mean, we need to think about that.
yes, sir.
Out of sight, out of mind, is that the idea? Put
Awful
the
tempting.
fencing around it?
I don't understand why people do that, but it's awful tempting to some for some reason.
Okay, go back up to the one above that facility construction, the
Okay.
fell 6-inch ductile iron pipe connected to a galvanized pipe removed in Kelvin Grove Drive. Was that a 6-inch galvanized pipe too?
No, 6-inch iron.
This is the one that blew out. This is the Kelvin Grove blowout, wasn't it?
Well, that pipe didn't blow out. This is the valve replacement. When we had a blowout near Bloody Marsh, we went back to try to shut that system off and could not shut it off, so we ended up having to shut down a much larger area. So we went back in, dug down, replaced the valve. When we were in there replacing the valve, we had to excavate a bit more pipe than we were expecting to find something we could actually tie back to.
So the valve fell, the 6-inch ductile iron pipe didn't fail.
Right, that's correct.
Okay.
Okay, master plan update. Looks like the full, or the final,
You'll get printed copies of it tomorrow to look through.
that's it, final version, final presentation. Tillman water line replacement, that one is 100% complete, so this will be falling off the list here.
And that was replacing a 4-inch with 6-inch or something?
It was replacing a 4-inch, connecting 2 sections of 8-inch together. Uses some of the improvements put in on L Street.
That's correct, yes.
That's neat.
Meter replacements? If you want to,
We are, well, as of lunchtime today, we had just crossed the 2,100 meter mark. We've started doing some 1.5 and 2-inch meters. I think we've got about 15 of those done. So the vast majority of them still 3/4 inch and 1-inch meters. But project's going along very well. And, you know, a couple of minor leaks show up where the things didn't get tightened down all the way during the meter replacement, but they've been working along triggers and all in those areas. And we are scheduling for the first of the large meter replacements early April. We're working with the hospital. They'll be the first meters that get replaced. Out there, they have an 8 and 2 6-inch meters, so we can go ahead and get all 3 of those taken care of in 1 week. But things are going along well there. We have notified a handful of customers already that when we put the new meters on there, they did have a small leak that previously wasn't being detected. So we can call them and tell them they've had continuous usage. A couple of them have argued with us that they did not have a leak. But 30 days later, they
You get the bill.
found out they did have a leak. So a lot of what has been replaced thus far has actually been the meters with the registers that were not transmitting. The digital registers failed, and you can't manually read a digital register if it's not working. So they've been getting minimum bills. So now they were getting actual usage bills, but we've had conversations with several of those customers, and thus far, they may not be pleased about it, but they're understanding that their bill will be increasing.
Can you zoom in that picture a little bit,
Yes.
the one on the left?
Definitely.
Yeah, oh, that'd be great. Ah, there we go.
It might pixelate a little bit here. but-
Well, that'd be, no,
Oh, on the left, I'm sorry.
on the left, yeah.
I'm sorry.
I was-
Your other
On
left.
the left.
Yeah, this is much more interesting than the box of scraps. Yeah,
That's just a bank, yeah.
yeah, very nice, yeah.
One thought came to mind is, as we're now able to notify our customers soon, if we determine a constant usage, we may want to review our policy for leak adjustment. Because currently, the ones that we typically see have had a high bill for 2 or 3 months.
Right.
And I think it'd be appropriate for us to revisit that when we've had now we've got much shorter notice that we can provide to them, and they can engage quicker, and quite frankly, that reduces the subsidization that we
Mhm.
put on the rest of our customers for
Absolutely.
water consumption that's forgiven, and sewer for that matter.
Absolutely.
And the existing meters, though, when they ride by and they get a different reading than normal, it alerts the guy on the radio read meters?
Not until they upload once they upload the readings, it will go to the billing system, and we can get indication at that point, because of the usage is higher, but that's 30 days worth of usage.
I thought radio read meters, if they go by and it's different than if off a certain amount, it'll automatically, so they can go back by and read it again or something.
They will do that, yes, sir. We'd have to go reread them to confirm, but obviously, we only go by once every 30 days, so if they had a leak that showed up 3 days after the last reading, they've used a lot of water.
So
We'll be able to notify everybody within 24 hours.
Magnolia Park's only 37% complete?
It's more complete with that. That's where the billing percentage is.
Right, we base that off the pay apps and the,
There are 5 of
Number.
the 7 streets in there are completed.
Okay.
So what's that, 70%? 60%, something like that?
And are the automatic transfer switches, have we awarded that contract?
Contract is out for bid right now, and expected back, I believe, I was going to talk to y'all, but that is due back the Tuesday before the next meeting. Obviously, I will not be able to provide you with preliminary information for a bid that's due back the day before the meeting, but FEMA would like us to move forward with that as quickly as possible. So we need to. So I may be bringing that to you late Tuesday night for your review for a Wednesday meeting.
And when are we going to be able to take bids on the generators?
Working with our electrical engineer now on speccing all the generators out, so I don't have a date on that one yet. He's got to come down, do site visits, and confirm everything.
well, that concludes my section of the capital report there. I'll stay here to answer any questions as you go through the.
And we'll say on the earned value report, which printed a little weird this month, overall, the schedule is improving, not rapidly, but it is improving. We were in the 0.5 range a couple of months ago.
20% improvement.
20% improvement. Now, some of that is because the 2 large projects that we kicked off with Academy Creek and the meter project are both going very well. Still running ahead of cost. most of that being associated with some of these tank projects and galvanized projects that have not been, that a lot of work has been done, but not a lot of bills have been sent in on. And then, of course, the overall performance index is a .84, indicating we're about 16% ahead of schedule.
That it?
Good.
The only other thing I will say is we've had about 4 boil waters this week, which seems excessive. Every one of them was from a contractor digging through a line,
From a what?
from a contractor digging through one of our lines. So,
Any commissioners have any comments?
None.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
Just pulling up that meter map if anybody